I'm Tracy Carter, and my life was defined by silence until the day I decided to make some noise. Silence wasn't a choice, it was survival. When you're 14 years old and your world revolves around surviving your mother, surely you learn to keep quiet. You learn to duck when her voice rises like thunder, to hold your breath as she storms through the house, searching for something or someone to blame. And you definitely learn not to cry in front of her. Crying only makes it worse. Shirley is complicated. That's what people say about her when they think I'm not listening. Oh, Shirley has such a sharp tongue, but she means well. Or, Tracy lucky to have a mom who keeps her grounded. Grounded. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Another way would be trapped. Trapped under the weight of her temper, which could shatter glass, and her lies, which were impenetrable armor against anyone who dared question her. But here's the thing. I'm not brave, not really. I'm just tired. Tired of flinching every time she raises her voice. Tired of hiding bruises behind long sleeves, pretending they're from gym class or clumsy accidents. Tired of being told no one will believe me if I speak up. Because that's what everyone says when I try. Teachers, neighbors, even the police. They look at me like I'm overreacting, like I'm the problem. And then they pat Shirley on the back and tell her to keep doing what you're doing. Living in this small town doesn't help. Everyone knows everyone else's business. But somehow, no one sees what's right in front of them. My mom charms the neighbors with her perfect smiles and baked goods. She convinces teachers that I'm the difficult one, the ungrateful child who talks back and causes trouble. And every time I go to the police, the same officers who wave hello at the grocery store, they dismiss my complaints with polite nods and empty promises. By the time I turn 14, I've stopped trying to fight back, at least openly. It all comes to a head one night after dinner. I'm clearing the table, moving carefully because I know how much she hates clutter when disaster strikes. A glass tips over, just a little wobble, and milk spills across the counter. Not even a lot, just enough to catch her eye. Enough to make her snap. "What is wrong with you?" she hisses, her voice low and dangerous. Her hands clench into fists at her sides. I freeze, holding the glass too tightly, my knuckles white. I didn't mean to, I stammer, hating how weak my voice sounds. I'll clean it up. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything, she shouts, slamming her palm down on the counter hard enough to rattle the dishes. The sound echoes in my chest, vibrating like fear itself. Before I can move, before I can do anything, her hand swings out and connects with my cheek. Pain explodes across my face, hot and shocking. I stumble back, dropping the glass. It shatters on the floor, shards skittering everywhere like tiny daggers glinting in the kitchen light. For a moment, there's nothing but silence. My heart pounds so loudly I'm sure she can hear it. Then comes the tirade, the yelling, the accusations, the threats. You're useless. Do you hear me? Completely useless. Each word lands like another blow, bruising more than just my skin. By the time she finally storms out of the room, slamming the door behind her, I'm shaking so hard I can barely stand. That night, lying awake in bed with tears streaming down my face, I realize something. No one is coming to save me. Not the neighbors, not the teachers, not the police. If I want justice, if I want to survive, I'll have to take it myself. That realization settles deep inside me, a spark igniting in the darkness. Revenge won't bring back the pieces of me she's broken, but maybe it'll give me something else, control, power, a chance to prove to myself that I'm still alive. And so, that seed of revenge takes root. But I don't act yet. Oh no, I wait. I watch. I plan. Because if there's one thing I've learned from living under Shirley's roof, it's that timing is everything. Patience is power. And I intend to use both to tear her facade apart, one clink at a time. The next morning, I notice the way she sighs dramatically while brushing crumbs off the kitchen counter. "This place is a mess," she mutters, glaring at me like it's somehow my fault. For once, though, her words don't sting. Instead, they fuel the fire burning inside me. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Little does she know, the real battle is just beginning. The next few weeks blur together in a haze of frustration and helplessness. I try again, just once more, to get anyone, to listen. This time, I go to the police station myself, sitting across from Officer Daniels, the same man who's dismissed me before. His face is kind enough, but his eyes glaze over as I explain what happened that night. The spilled milk, the slap, the yelling. By the time I finish, he's already nodding, already reaching for the pen to jot down some meaningless note about family disputes. "Tracy," he says gently, like he's talking to a child, "we've spoken to your mom, and she seems very concerned about you. Maybe it's best if you talk to her directly? Work things out." I stare at him, my throat tight with anger and shame. Concerned. That's what he calls it. Not rage, not manipulation, concern. I thank him politely, forcing a smile that feels foreign on my lips, and leave without another word. The walk home is silent, except for the sound of my sneakers scuffing against the pavement. My hands are clenched into fists so tight my nails dig into my palms. Am I crazy? Is she right? Maybe I am making this all up. Maybe none of it matters, anyway. That thought stays with me for days, gnawing at the edges of my mind until I can barely focus on anything else. But then, during lunch one afternoon, Tom finds me sitting alone under the bleachers behind the school. He's carrying 2 sandwiches wrapped in foil, holding them out like peace offerings. "You look like you're plotting murder," he says, sliding down beside me. His tone is light, teasing, but there's a flicker of concern in his dark eyes. "Close," I mutter, taking one of the sandwiches. I don't have much of an appetite, but eating gives me something to do with my hands. Tom watches me carefully, chewing slowly. Finally, he leans closer, lowering his voice. "You know, my dad always says people like your mom, they hate looking stupid more than anything. If you really want to piss her off, find a way to make her feel powerless." What does that even mean? I snap, sharper than I intend. She is powerful. She controls everything. Me, my sister, everyone around her. He shrugs, unfazed by my tone. Then annoy her, relentlessly. Make her life inconvenient. Like he pauses, thinking. Then his face lights up. "Her car. Remember how we talked about cars last week? You could mess with it. Something small. Just annoying enough to drive her nuts." For a moment, I just blink at him, stunned. It's such a simple idea, so petty, but somehow it feels brilliant. A slow grin spreads across my face, and Tom grins back, catching my excitement. Later that day, after school, Tom takes me to his garage. Tools hang neatly on pegboards, and the air smells faintly of oil and rubber. In the corner sits his dad's old sedan, hood propped open like a patient waiting for surgery. Tom grabs a flashlight and leads me to the front wheel well. "Here," he says, pointing to a spot near the suspension. "If you tie a string here with something heavy on the end, it'll swing when the car moves. Every bump, every turn, it'll clink against the metal." My heart races as I imagine it. The relentless noise, the irritation building inside her every time she gets behind the wheel. It's perfect. Petty, maybe, but symbolic too, a constant reminder that she's not untouchable. That I'm still here, watching, waiting. Tom helps me gather supplies. A sturdy piece of string, a small rock, and duct tape to secure it. We practice rigging the contraption a few times until I'm confident I can do it myself. When I finally head home, the weight of the materials in my pocket feels like armor. The opportunity comes sooner than I expect. On Saturday morning, my mom announces she's taking my little sister, Lily, horseback riding. They won't be back for hours. As soon as their car disappears down the driveway, I grab the supplies and slip outside. My hands tremble slightly as I crouch beside the driver's side of the car, but I force myself to focus. Following Tom's instructions, I secure the string to the suspension. letting the rock dangle just close enough to hit the metal frame. When I step back, my knees ache from kneeling on the gravel, but a thrill runs through me. For the first time in years, I feel like I've taken control of something, even if it's just a stupid noise. The next morning, I sit at the kitchen table pretending to eat breakfast while my mom sips her coffee. When she finally stands up, keys jingling in her hand, I hold my breath. The engine roars to life and then, clink, clink, clink. I almost choke on my cereal. My mom freezes, her brow furrowing as she listens. "What the hell is that?" she mutters, leaning forward to inspect the dashboard. I swallow hard, forcing my expression to stay neutral. "No idea. Maybe you should get the mechanic to have a look at it." She shoots me a glare, but there's no accusation in it, not yet. Still, I keep my head down, focusing on my spoon as she pulls out of the driveway. The sound fades into the distance, but the memory of it lingers, sharp and satisfying. Over the next few days, I watch her frustration grow. Each time she drives somewhere, the noise follows, relentless and unyielding. She takes the car to the mechanic twice in 1 week, each visit ending in exasperation. The second time, she storms back into the house, slamming the door so hard the walls shake. "They couldn't find anything wrong," she yells, pacing the living room. "This damn car is falling apart." I bite the inside of my cheek to keep from smiling. What she doesn't know is that Tom's dad is playing along perfectly. Every time she brings the car in, he charges her for diagnostics, pretending to fix things without actually touching the string. And every time she leaves, the problem miraculously reappears. As the weeks pass, the rumors start spreading around town. People whisper about Shirley Carter's faulty car, laughing behind her back. Her carefully constructed image begins to crack, chipping away bit by bit. Meanwhile, I experiment with other forms of retaliation, spreading gossip, accidentally breaking her favorite vase, planting seeds of doubt among her friends. Each act fuels my confidence, strengthening my resolve. But it's not enough. Not yet. One evening, as I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, I realize something. Revenge isn't just about making her miserable. It's about proving to myself that I'm stronger than she thinks, that I'm still alive. And so I wait. I plan. Because this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Little does she know, the real battle is just beginning. 9 years. That's how long it's been since I last set foot in this town, and yet nothing seems to have changed. The streets are still lined with the same cracked sidewalks, the houses still wear their faded paint like old scars, and the air still carries the faint tang of gasoline from the mechanic shop on Main Street. I didn't plan to come back, not really. But curiosity has a way of pulling you places you swore you'd never go. I told myself it was just nostalgia, but deep down I know better. This isn't about missing home, it's about closure. About seeing if the ghost of my past still lingers where I left it, or rather who I left behind. The first thing I notice when I drive into town is her car. It's impossible to miss, the same beat-up sedan she's had for as long as I can remember, parked outside the grocery store like some kind of relic. My chest tightens as I watch her step out, her movements stiff and hurried. She looks older now, her hair streaked with gray, her once sharp features softened by time. But there's something else too, a nervous energy, a jitteriness that wasn't there before. And then I hear it. Clink, clink, clink. My breath catches in my throat. After all these years, the sound is still there, echoing faintly with every step she takes toward the store. For a moment, I'm frozen, half convinced I'm imagining it. But no, it's real. The string, the rock, the relentless noise, they're all still exactly where I left them. A laugh bubbles up in my chest, sharp and incredulous, and I press my hand against my mouth to stifle it. How could she not have figured it out? How could anyone, especially someone as controlling as Shirley, not take the time to crawl under their own car and rip the damn thing off? But then again, maybe that's the point. Maybe she couldn't bring herself to confront it, because doing so would mean admitting she wasn't as untouchable as she always claimed to be. Later that afternoon, I find myself standing outside Tom's childhood home. It's smaller than I remember, its porch sagging slightly under the weight of years and weather. When I knock, it takes a moment for him to answer. But when he does, his face lights up with recognition. "Tracy!" He blinks, leaning against the doorframe. "Is that really you?" "It's me," I say, smiling despite the knot of nerves twisting in my stomach. "Can I come in?" He steps aside, ushering me into the familiar chaos of his living room. Tools and spare parts litter every surface, remnants of his dad's decades-long career as the town mechanic. Speaking of which, is your dad around? I ask, trying to keep my voice casual. I wanted to thank him for everything. Tom raises an eyebrow, intrigued but not pressing. He's retired now, spends most of his days tinkering out back. Come on, I'll take you to him. We walk through the house to the garage, where his dad sits hunched over a workbench, squinting at a rusted gear. His hair is thinner now, his hands marked with age spots, but his sharp eyes light up when he sees me. "Well, well," he says, setting the gear aside. "Look who decided to visit after all these years." "I couldn't stay away forever," I admit, folding my arms across my chest. "I wanted to say thank you for helping me with the car." His expression softens, and for a moment he simply studies me, as if searching for traces of the scared 14-year-old girl who used to sneak into his garage. Then he nods slowly, leaning back in his chair. "You deserved it," he says gruffly. "Shirley treated you like dirt and nobody, not me, not the cops, not even your own neighbors, did a damn thing to stop her. If letting that little noise follow her around gave you some peace, then so be it." His words hit me like a punch to the gut, but not because they hurt. No, it's the opposite, they're vindicating. For years, I carried the weight of guilt, wondering if I'd gone too far, if my revenge had been petty or cruel. But hearing him say those words makes me realize something. Justice isn't always clean. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and full of contradictions. And sometimes it's exactly what you need to survive. When I leave Tom's house, the sun is beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the street. I don't head straight home, though. Instead, I park near the edge of town, close enough to see her car without being noticed. She's loading groceries into the trunk, muttering under her breath as the clinking grows louder with each movement. Watching her, I feel a strange mix of emotions, anger, satisfaction, sadness, all swirling together until I'm not sure which one is strongest. She slams the trunk shut with more force than necessary, glaring at the car like it's betrayed her somehow. Then she climbs inside, gripping the steering wheel tightly as the engine sputters to life. The noise follows her as she drives away, fading into the distance, but never truly disappearing. For a moment, I consider following her, confronting her face to face after all these years, telling her everything, the truth about what I did, why I did it, how it felt to finally take back control. But I don't. Instead, I stay where I am, listening to the silence left in her wake, because I don't need to say anything. The car speaks for me. It always has. And as I turn to leave, the sound lingering in my ears like a promise, I realize something. Revenge isn't just about hurting the person who hurt you. It's about proving to yourself that you're stronger than they ever thought you could be, that you survived, that you won. But even as I walk away, one question lingers in my mind, unspoken but undeniable. What happens next? The days that follow my return to town pass in a blur, each one bringing new whispers about Shirley. Word spreads quickly here, always has, and it's not long before everyone knows about her cursed car. At the diner, I overhear snippets of conversation between sips of coffee. "Did you hear? That woman spent thousands trying to fix it." Or, "Poor thing doesn't even realize she's the joke." Their laughter stings less than it used to, but it still carries weight, a reminder of how fragile power can be when it's built on lies. Shirley herself seems to shrink with every passing day. Gone is the sharp-tongued woman who once ruled our house with an iron fist. In her place stands someone brittle, paranoid, snapping at anyone who dares mention the noise. One afternoon, I see her arguing with a neighbor outside the post office. Her face is flushed red, her hands gesturing wildly as she insists the problem isn't real, that it's all in their heads. The neighbor just shrugs, unimpressed, and walks away mid-sentence. Watching her stumble over explanations no one believes feels like watching a statue crack under its own weight. Eventually, the inevitable happens. She sells the car, or rather, practically gives it away. I hear about it from Tom, who tells me she unloaded it for half its value to a guy passing through town. Apparently, the buyer thought the clinking was charming, some kind of quirk. Guess he didn't care, Tom says with a smirk, leaning against his truck. Not everyone obsesses over perfection like your mom. Perfection. That word hits harder than I expect. Growing up, everything had to be perfect for her. The house spotless, the meals flawless, me obedient and invisible. Anything less was failure, grounds for punishment. But now imperfection is eating her alive, piece by piece. And while part of me wants to gloat, to march up to her and say I did this, another part knows better. This isn't about gloating. It's about surviving. One evening, I find myself standing near where she parked the car for the last time. The space sits empty now, marked only by tire tracks fading into dirt. For years, that sound defined my rebellion, a constant reminder that I was still here, still fighting. Without it, the silence feels strange, almost hollow. I close my eyes and let the quiet settle around me, listening for echoes that aren't there anymore. When I open them again, I notice something unexpected. Relief. Not joy, not triumph, just relief. Revenge wasn't about breaking her completely. It was about proving to myself that I could break free, that I'm stronger than the person who tried to crush me. Every clink, every whispered rumor, every moment of her frustration, it all added up to something bigger than vengeance. It added up to reclaiming my power. And yet, as satisfying as it feels, I know it's not the end of the story. Justice doesn't always come wrapped in neat packages, tied off with bows. Sometimes it comes in fragments, scattered across years and moments. What I've done won't erase the scars she left behind. Nothing ever will. But it's given me something else. Proof that I survived. Proof that I'm more than the girl who flinched at every raised voice, more than the bruises hidden beneath long sleeves. As I walk away from the empty parking spot, the sun dips low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The colors remind me of fire, bright and consuming, and I wonder if maybe that's what revenge really is, not destruction, but transformation. A spark that burns away the old and leaves room for something new. But even as I think it, another question lingers, unspoken but undeniable. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently? Because the truth is, I'll never fully know if I made the right choice. All I know is that I chose to fight, to endure, to rise above. And maybe in the end that's enough.